the war in Iraq in 2002 and 3 when we gathered. We went to West Point. Many of you came along and we were together protesting that abomination where we were being lied to. We've been here on many, many county issues, whether it be saving Valley View, whether it be the idiocy of Legoland, which is tying up our major arterials and will continue to do so. This is an issue, ladies and gentlemen, that beckons our conscience and beckons our comprehension, even though in a way it's totally incomprehensible. We have a president who is amongst the most lawless Americans. I think that's a fair statement. Whatever your political party, whatever your political affiliation, we have a president who takes pleasure in the abuse of women and brags about it. We have a president who doesn't pay his fair share of taxes and boasts about it, and doesn't share his tax returns as almost every other candidate for high office has ever done. We have a president, though, who can speak about the lawlessness of immigrants. It's rather remarkable that could come out of this man's mouth a criticism of other people's lawlessness. Really, really. So I think at the heart of what we're dealing with, and excuse me for using the term, is a mind fuck. Because we have to get beyond our disbelief that this is occurring today in America. When I say this is occurring, the media is not allowed into facilities paid for by public money. So the media can document what's really going on. Donald Trump is aware of what essentially ended the Vietnam War. The pictures from the battlefield, the pictures that America had to look up to every single night with Walter Cronkite's narration.
Body count.
The body counts. Donald Trump understands that just a few more pictures from those centers of children emaciated, children 8 years old, taking care of 5-month-olds who've been deprived of any parental support and love. In a day and age when Donald Trump has told us that there'll be no more separation of families.
Liar.
What does he think is going on in the facilities being run, as Rick Gantz said, in our name? Now, we have a profound moral obligation to step forward. It goes beyond anything else. While 6 million died is a story that's only in our nation 70 or 80 years old. When our top political leaders saw what was going on across the ocean and did nothing. This is not going on across an ocean. This is going on in our midst, funded by our tax dollars. Now, the Democrats and Republicans in Congress, ineffectual. The whole group, ineffectual. It's a time for urgent action. It's not a time for them to simply pontificate. It's a time for those in power to look each other in the eye and say, it's on us. It's on all of us. Now, good intentions don't bring back young people slain by the police. Good intentions are not going to bring back the childhoods of those who are now being detained. They are being marked forever by the treatment that our government is imposing upon them and their families. They are being marked forever while we're having a national debate, or the beginnings of it, on reparations for our African American brothers and sisters, and all the indignities that public policy visited upon them. While we're having that debate, contemporaneously in time, we're doing the same thing to another group. So in 20 or 30 years, are we going to be speaking about reparations for the children and their parents? It's madness. And it's time, ladies and gentlemen, that we got angry. You know, passivity is one thing. Anger is another thing. For those of us, and many of us are old enough to remember, there was no civil rights legislation out of the good of anybody's heart. There was civil rights legislation in 1968, finally a Fair Housing Act, after Martin was killed. Remember it. And after the cities were in riotous conditions in the 1965 period, there was finally a Voting Rights Act. There must be sustained anger. There must be sustained anger. There must be activity which reflects that moral imperative which we feel. Now I'll close with this. The way I look at our country is very simple. Most of us who are Caucasian benefit from white privilege, and we do not have to do anything because this is not in our faces. It's not. It's not. And we can sit and enjoy white privilege, and many of us do. A county like ours, there are many, many very comfortable people. Let's not fool ourselves. You drive through the county and you see it. And it's largely that's responsible for our lack of political cohesion and energy at any given time. This is an issue which has absolutely no partisan meaning. Both parties are totally responsible for where we are. Those who love Barack Obama, wonderful. He deported 3 million people. He did not pass immigration reform. Was he bolted by the Republican Party, who from day one said, whatever you want to do, we won't do? Absolutely. But when you have that situation in politics, you go directly to the people. You rally the people. Okay? This is a gentleman who was a world-class orator. He was a world-class orator. But in those 6 years, when the Republicans controlled Congress, he never, even though he easily won re-election, he was never able to rally the people. And frankly, he didn't try that hard. That's the reality of where we are. Now here we are again with 23 candidates running for president, each one with his or her own agenda. Maybe one or two of them, Mr. Castro, Mr. Inslee, have focused to some extent on this issue. This is a defining moral issue. It's an issue we will be, as the first speaker spoke about, remembered for. What we did, what we didn't do, our passivity, our energy, our anger. So I applaud you, Rick Ann, for setting this up, Bennett for helping, everyone else for helping. But we must, I don't care, frankly, about a postcard to Sean Patrick Maloney, who many of you know I call on many occasions Sean Patrick Baloney. Okay? I don't care about a postcard to him. Mr. Maloney is having town meetings, emergency town meetings tomorrow,
Warwick.
in Monroe, in Deer Park. How many people will be at the emergency town meeting that he's calling and telling him we have an emergency? What the hell are you doing about it? How many of us will be there? Another in Warwick. Okay?
Carmel, too.
So we have an opportunity not to send him a postcard. We have an opportunity to stand in his face and say to him, enough of your pontificating. What are you doing about it? And the reality is, you talk about wanting to be bipartisan, it's a purple district and all this nonsense. Do something about this issue. So thank you all for being here. It's important that we do join together. It's equally important that after today, in our lives, we make this a focus. Thank you very much.